to a new week of BGC TV. I'm Elisabeth.
And I'm Kelly. And we're back with an extra special theme for the week. Animals.
Today's going to be a wild day.
Because we're talking about wild animals.
A wild animal is an animal that lives on its own without any help from humans.
It has to find food, water, and shelter all on its own.
It also has to learn how to protect itself from other animals and any other danger in its habitat.
Animals have these special things called adaptations that help them survive wherever they live. For example, polar bears have a thick layer of blubber that keeps them warm in the freezing cold Arctic.
Another example is a jackrabbit's long ears. Jackrabbits live in the desert and their long ears help keep them cool.
Wow, animals are amazing.
Yep. Throughout today's show, we'll learn all about other types of wild animals and the cool adaptations that they have.
We're going to head over to Joe in a second, but before we go, I've got a joke for you, Elisabeth.
This should be good. Let's hear it.
What do you call an alligator in a vest?
I don't know what.
An investigator.
Wow, that was utterly ridiculous.
I see what you did there.
Before we turn the time over to Joe to learn about one of the smallest type of wild animals, bugs, let's see what Kate is doing out in the field.
Hi kids, it's Animal Week at BGCTV, and today is Wild Animal Day. So I'm at the Division of Wildlife Resources here in Ogden to talk to James Christensen, who is the manager of this department, about the wildlife in our area. So let's go talk to James and see what he has to tell us.
Thanks for meeting with me, Jim. Can you tell us what the Department of Wildlife Resources does?
So the Division of Wildlife Resources, we manage the wildlife and fish in the state of Utah.
Can you tell our audience some of the wildlife that you might come into contact with here in our area?
Sure. We have a great diversity of wildlife right here in our area, from non-hunted species such as songbirds to deer and elk and moose, and even out on Antelope Island we have bison.
And what is the biggest wild animal we have in our area?
So the biggest that we would have are the bison out on Antelope Island. But for the other areas, we have moose. Mooses are our biggest. Some of those moose are at the top of their back, taller than my head. I'm 6 feet 1 inch tall, and they'll weigh upwards of 800 to 1,000 pounds.
That's a big animal.
Yep.
Okay, what's the scariest animal we have in our area?
Boy, the scariest animal, probably teenagers. Man, those wild animals, I got one at home, I still can't figure them out. But other than that, actually the scariest animals can be the smallest animals, such as mosquitoes and ticks. They kill more people in the world every year than bigger lions and tigers and cougars and all of that. With that being said, though, we need to treat all animals with respect. Even deer can be very aggressive and can hurt people. Typically with some of those that we think might be scariest, like a cougar or a bear, they tend to stay by themselves. If we see them, they're usually because of curiosity for those animals, or if we see a bear, it's because we've done something while we're camping to make them come in, like we left garbage out or food out, and so it's attracted them to come into that smell.
Well, I was surprised by that answer, but it makes sense to me. So what advice do you have to our kids if they come in contact with a wild animal?
Okay, so the first piece of advice is use the buddy system, always when you're out in the field. Typically when people get in trouble with wild animals, it's because they're by themselves and being very quiet as they go on a hike. They don't like to be in the wilderness and in the mountains for the solitude and the quiet. And so we're out there being quiet and we startle a wild animal. And a wild animal will give us two responses. They'll either run away when they hear us, or they will go into a fight mode and then they'll attack. The majority of the time, they just run away, fortunately. So the biggest thing is to be with someone else and talk. Don't be afraid to make some noise while you're out. If you do come across something, make yourself look big. Put your arms out and talk a little louder so that they know you're there. And then don't turn away and run, because that can trigger a predator-prey response with like the cougars or the bears, to where they think, oh, that must be something that I need. And so as you're running away, they'll run after you. If you just put your arms up and then back away slowly, kind of like this as you're talking, typically they will leave you alone.
Interesting. So do you have a fun story you can share with us about some wildlife creatures you've come into contact with?
Boy, I've had a lot of good, fun experiences with wildlife, all the way from with species such as bears and cougars and moose and deer and bighorn sheep. I've got to deal with all of them. One of the first things that I ever got to do with wildlife was we were doing a study on mountain goats up on Willard Peak. And part of that study was to go and mark those animals, and we marked them with paintball guns. And that was pretty fun. Another one that comes to mind is we were looking for a bear that had a radio collar on. We wanted to go in and see if she had had cubs and how her overall health was. We do that in the middle of winter. And so we had to take a long snowmobile ride, and then we had to hike several miles with snowshoes, and we were listening for the radio collar, and we got to a specific tree where we knew that radio collar had to be right there. So we dug through the snow for hours, and we could not find that bear. And we looked up in this tree, and about 40 feet in the air, the tree branched out like this. And we thought, no way. So we climbed up the tree, the 40 feet, and that bear had made a tree den. And she had hollowed out that tree right where it branched, and she was right down in there. So hanging on with our toes as tight as we could, we darted that bear, and we had to just reach down as far as we could to swap the collar out because we could not get her out of there to let her down. And so we had to do it all in the tree. And so those are my most memorable experiences there. But yeah, I've done everything from pull cougars out of trees to pull cougars from under decks to darting moose in town and in the mountains and deer. It's been real fun.
Oh, those are great stories. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have any advice for us before we finish up?
Nature is out there. Go and have fun, but respect it. As long as we respect the wild animals and their territories and their space, we can both get along.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you back at the studio.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Bugs are so gross. Why would we want to learn about them? And I agree. Some bugs are gross, but some are pretty cool. So let's buzz on to our first insect. This first insect is probably something that you have already seen. Ladybugs. We see them running around in the spring through fall. Ladybugs are really small, but play an important part in nature. Ladybugs are the natural enemies of many insects, including those that can seriously harm plants. Now, this next insect that we really need to be kind to. I'm talking about those flying insects that help the plants and make us honey. That's right, bees. Bees are found on every continent except for the really cold ones. Bees are super important because they help plants grow and increase how much a plant gives. Now, you may be scared of bees, but they are nice and will not attack you unless they feel threatened. We need to protect the bees because there aren't as many of them and they are so important to us. This last insect that we're going to talk about comes in a small package but has a huge strength. We're talking about ants. These little guys can lift stuff 5,000 times heavier than itself. Don't worry though, they can't lift enough to grab you. Now, ants have a sort of societies where they spread out all the work that needs to be done. The most common are the pavement ants. These are the ones that you see on the sidewalk all the time. Now, you may not like the ants, but they help out a lot. They make it so that plants can get food and oxygen, allowing the plant cycle to continue. These guys are really starting to crawl away into my heart with how helpful they can be. Now, that's all the time I have left. Let's buzz on over to Elisabeth and Kelly to talk about hibernating animals.
Thanks, Joe, for all the information.
That segment really bugged me.
Good one, Elisabeth. We are talking all about hibernating animals next.
What does it mean to hibernate?
That's a good question. Hibernation is where an animal spends a long time in a sleeping state, usually during the winter.
Wow, like a bear?
Yeah, exactly. Bears are a really good example. They get ready for hibernation in November and can hibernate for about 5 months. They usually don't eat, drink, or go to the bathroom for the time in which they are hibernating. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. There are many different kinds of animals that hibernate, like some kinds of frogs, turtles, snakes, certain kinds of birds, and bugs like bees.
Oh, that's really cool.
I agree. But Kelly, why is hibernation so important?
Well, hibernation is important because sometimes there isn't enough food for the animals hibernating, and the animals need to save the energy that it would take to consume food.
Wow, so is it healthier for them?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's all the time we have, but for now, let's go to Willow to learn about another way that animals protect themselves.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about animals that use camouflage and why they use it. Camouflage is a defense mechanism that animals use to disguise their appearance and to blend in with their surroundings. Animals use camouflage to hide from their predators, or they could use it to sneak up on their prey. There are 4 different types of camouflage, and the first one is called concealing coloration. And those are 2 big words, but that means that an animal hides itself against a background that's the same color as them. So a polar bear lives in the snow because it's white and its fur is white. And a frog lives in a swamp because it matches its greenish color. The next type of camouflage is disruptive coloration. This is when there's stripes or spots or other patterns that animals have on their bodies, so you can't really tell what their shape is or what they are. Tigers and leopards use disruptive coloration. So they use them to move low in the branches so that prey can't tell where they are. The next type of camouflage I'm going to talk about is mimicry. Animals use mimicry to copy the characteristics of other animals. For example, animals or insects will make themselves look like other animals or insects that are dangerous or taste bad or poisonous so that other animals will leave them alone. Some insects even pretend to be other sorts of things, like a stick bug might look like a stick. There are even frogs that look like stones. And so the last type of camouflage is disguise. This is like the first one, except that the animals change their color or their texture to fit in with everything around them instead of just being the same. For example, the chameleon from the movie Tangled uses that type of camouflage. And those are the 4 types of camouflage that animals use. Joe will be talking about pack animals after this quick break.
Have you ever wanted to be the ultimate hider in hide and seek? Well, I have just the thing for you. The camo kit is the perfect thing for you. The CK is almost as good as animals' natural camouflage. This camo kit is so good, it's like you were never there. Be sure to buy yours today so you can hide like me.
Many animals live in packs, similar to our own families. I'm going to be talking about some of these animals and what their packs look like. Now to start this off, let's talk about the kings and queens of the jungle, lions. Lions are social animals, meaning that they form groups called prides. Prides have a few males and a few females, plus their cubs, which are baby lions. The females of the pride are usually the ones that go out and hunt for food, while the male lions are the ones that take care of the pride. They stay back to protect the cubs and lionesses that did not go out on the hunt. Let's stomp on over to the next animal, which are elephants. Elephants are the world's largest land animals. They weigh over 8,000 pounds. That's really heavy. Most elephants have tusks, and these tusks never stop growing. So much so that you can tell how old an elephant is just by how big their tusks are. Unlike lions, elephant families are a mixture of multiple family groups coming together and are led by the oldest female elephant. Our last pack animal that we're going to talk about are chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are larger family groups than the other 2 animals, with groups ranging from 15 to 150 members. Each member stays close to the mother for several years, only leaving the group to get food for the bigger pack. These animals usually are able to solve issues in the pack without any violence at all. They are able to communicate with each other through facial expressions, postures, and sounds. Now, that's all the family animals that we can talk about for today. Make sure to appreciate your own family, and let's head over to Kelly for today's wellness tip.
Hi guys, it's me, Kelly, and I'm here to fill in for Kaylee today for your wellness tip. Today I want to talk to you guys about standing out and being yourself. Earlier, we talked about camouflage animals and how all sorts of animals use camouflage. Even though camouflage is super cool, I don't want you guys using camouflage. I want you guys to stand out, be unique, and different. I know it might be hard to not do what everyone else is doing or wear what everyone else wears, but it is so much cooler to stand out. Every human is unique. You are truly one of a kind. We all know that we as humans are the same in certain ways, like we all have a head, a heart, a brain, and so on. But the similarity ends there. Being unique comes from the heart and the mind. Being different from others is okay. We were born to be different. So don't be scared to stand out, because you are the best that you can be, and no one can be just like you. That is all I have for today, but remember to always be yourself, and don't forget to smile. Welcome back, everyone. It's time for something new, an animal talent show.
There are many animals out there with some pretty awesome talents, so we thought we'd show you some of the best.
The first animal is an amazing jumper. Nope, it's not a frog or a kangaroo. It's a penguin. Penguins can jump almost 6 feet in the air.
Wow, that's amazing. Who knew?
Not me.
Well, the next animal is a peregrine falcon. They are super speedy divers. They can dive at their prey at speeds up to 200 miles per hour.
Crazy. Speaking of speedy, did you know a cuttlefish can completely change color in less than a second? It has special pigmented sacs and reflecting plates that help it camouflage itself and blend in.
So cool. Another cool one is hippos. They actually make their own sunscreen. They secrete this reddish oil that protects them from the sun.
I wish I could do that.
Same.
Elizabeth, have you ever heard of a lyrebird?
Mm-mm.
They don't lie to you. I didn't know much about them before, but they actually have these super advanced vocal cords that can perfectly mimic noises and human voices. It's basically like a tape recorder.
Can you imagine hanging out in the forest and hearing your own voice repeated back to you?
Yikes, creepy.
Speaking of creepy, let's talk rattlesnakes. They can do a lot of fancy stuff, but one thing I thought was pretty cool was that they have heat-seeking vision to help them find their warm-blooded prey.
That is pretty cool. But as a warm-blooded human, I don't think I'd want to play hide and seek with a rattlesnake.
Agreed. All right, our last animal has a pretty impressive talent. Silver-tipped grizzly bears can actually sniff out their meal from 20 miles away. They can also pick up a scent up to 48 hours after the scent was left. That's 2 whole days.
Wow, that's quite the super sniffer.
That's for sure. Well, that's it for today's animal talent show.
We learned about some very talented animals. Let us know which one you thought was the coolest in the comment box below.
We'll be right back after this break.
I don't know about you, but I always see humans with these dogs on leashes, and they all know all these kinds of commands, and they're like fun to cuddle with, and I just want that too. But I don't want a boring dog. I want a boring human. Humans are the perfect pets. When they speak, I can't understand them, and they're perfect on leashes. Plus, they actually have thumbs. So, if you want your own human pet, be sure to call Squawk, Squawk, Squawk to get yours today.
Welcome back. We're going to finish off today's episode by talking about a special kind of animal, migrating animals.
What does it mean to migrate?
Well, you see, migrating is where animals travel distances based on the season. Most animals that migrate tend to do so because they need more food or because a different area might have a better living condition.
Interesting. What kind of animals migrate?
All different types of animals migrate, actually. From birds to fish, even insects migrate.
Wow, that's awesome. Can you tell us more about birds migrating?
Sure. Birds are awesome because they usually migrate to a warmer place during the cold months. So when it starts to warm up in your area, you'll start to see birds returning to your area. I think that is so awesome.
Wow, that is so cool. Is that why we sometimes see lots of birds and then other times we don't see very many?
Exactly. Sometimes the birds are just in warmer weather.
Huh, that sounds awesome. Thanks for telling us about migration, Elizabeth.
Anytime.
That's all the time we have for today.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Be sure to check out the links to do Chinese with Marty and learn how to stay cool with a STEM activity with me. Also, check out our website to access a free ebook from Marty to practice your Chinese in between our lessons.
And if you have a favorite animal, comment it down below.
We will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.